Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. The towering, massive black vessel continued its ascent, causing the entire black swamp to tremble and vibrate. Compared to the black vessel, Luo Feng and company seemed incredibly small, with respect to body size as well as aura. For every universe master present, if not for their true treasures, the moment they fell into the black swamp, they would be doomed for sure. Full force attacks were unable to shake the black swamp, but this black vessel shook off a large part of the black swamp effortlessly. How do we seize this treasure? I have never heard of any method. Many thoughts coursed through Luo Feng's mind. There were many legends of the boat of Morselum, but no one in humanity had never possessed it before, and among the near 100 groups of powers throughout the entire universe ocean, the two Holy Lands might be the only ones who had ever managed to seize it before. So it was understandable that no one knew how to seize this treasure. Branding it with life imprints? Unlikely. If branding was possible, then Dear Bug Master, Shadow Dust Master of the Divine Eye Clan, and Sorcerer Sprite Master would not be so peaceful. Dear Bug Master. Luo Feng suddenly did a voice transmission. This time it was directed only to Dear Bug Master, so Sorcerer Sprite Master and Shadow Dust Master were oblivious. Milky Way Horde Leader, Dear Bug Master replied. I have little experience and knowledge, so I do not have any information about the boat of Morselum. Although I have heard about its legends, I have practically zero knowledge when it comes to true facts about it. Would you, Dear Bug Master, be able to share some of your knowledge about it with me? Why should I tell you? Dear Bug Master asked back. Luo Feng merely smiled and replied, as if he did not mind, it's fine if you are unable to tell me anything. I will just follow you, Shadow Dust Master, and Sorcerer Sprite Master when you three get into action. You really want to know? Dear Bug Master suddenly asked. Of course, Luo Feng replied. I'm fine with telling you, but I have one condition, Dear Bug Master said. I think there should be no other fellow great being from Purple Moon Holy Land here in Flame Ice region. When the boat of Morselum has completely emerged, which I guess should be soon, summoning other fellow great beings is completely out of the question. They will not be able to make it here in time. I may be powerful, but I am afraid I will become a target of attack. Would you be willing to be at my beck and call for the time being? If you agree, then I will tell you detailed information about the boat of Morselum. If not, forget it. Agreed. Luo Feng did not hesitate at all. However, I will only follow your orders before the crowd, before the treasure, don't blame me if I behave otherwise. Before the treasure, of course we will depend on our own capabilities, Dear Bug Master replied. Deal, Luo Feng answered. He knew why Dear Bug Master was fearful of the other groups of powers. Although Dear Bug Master possessed a supreme true treasure, that was only a supreme armor. Though strong in defense, when in face-to-face combat, it did not offer much of an advantage. Fighting with other great beings, for instance, a 5th-tier universe master against a 4th-tier universe master battling one another, the most the armor could do was to bring the 4th-tier universe master to a disadvantageous position. Killing was not very feasible unless it was with absolute restraint. Like Clear Eye Master, his sole attack could bring his opponent into an instant daze, where all ability to resist was lost. Perhaps this kind of absolute restraint would work wonders. Some 5th-tier existences were still able to survive when exchanging blows with universe supreme beings, so if they were pitted against mere 6th-tier universe masters, the results were obvious. Dear Bug Master was able to unleash his power, but the amount that he could unleash was probably only the amount a universe supreme master could release in the primal universe. Even though this would gain him an absolute upper hand, it would be extremely difficult to kill any one of his opponents, or even to kill someone like Luo Feng. Since you have agreed, Dear Bug Master said without further delay, I shall provide you with information regarding the boat of Morselum. Countless eras ago, the boat of Morselum was a working tool for a group of ancient existences within the universe boat. Of course, that ancient civilization was very powerful. For instance, they created the black striped stone pillars and the entire universe boat, both of which, none of us great beings in the universe ocean of today could cause to budge an inch. Luo Feng agreed on that. That civilization was indeed very powerful. Judging from clues left behind on various sources, many true treasures, even utmost supreme true treasures, were the legacy of that civilization. A certain degree of deduction was possible, just by looking at the informative writing found on a supreme true treasure, that they were exactly the same as the writings used by that civilization. There is a large number of unique objects within the universe boat, the black striped stone pillars, bloody sea plate, boat of Morselum, and others, for which the method of branding with life imprints to get them to recognize their masters will not work out. I am not so sure about types of objects like the black striped stone pillars and bloody sea plate, but objects like the boat of Morselum were more like tools, not true treasures. For instance, dear Bug Master continued, when you are hiding inside the boat of Morselum and great beings attack from the outside world, the boat of Morselum could counteract to a certain extent, but still a strong impact would be transmitted all the way in. Meaning to say, the boat of Morselum does not function like a palace true treasure, which can block off impacts to near perfection. However, it is a valuable that is naturally able to block soul attacks. Because of the unique material it is composed of, virtual godly powers would not be able to penetrate it at all. Its defense is merely because of its unique material. Want to make it recognize its master? One must enter the boat of Morselum and find its core control. Core control. Luo Feng repeated. Within the entire universe boat, dear Bug Master said, there were several boats of Morselum, but it takes ages for one to be born. Every boat of Morselum has a different core control. So you better not think of finding out anything about core controls from me, because I myself am clueless. Luo Feng knew that dear Bug Master definitely had certain information regarding the core control, but this was confidential, and also involved seizing a true treasure. Why would he tell Luo Feng so readily? If you want to enter this boat of Morselum, there is no other way, dear Bug Master said. You must wait for it to open its doors. If it does not want to open on its own, then no one would be able to forcibly pry it open. Luo Feng persisted in his questions. How long is the wait? Very soon. The moment it is completely born, the doors will normally open automatically. Of course, there is a possibility of sudden delays, dear Bug Master sighed. From the records of my holy hand, there was also a boat of Morselum that had doors that refused to open upon complete birth. After more than 300 eras, a supreme being who was extremely skilled in refining true treasures made use of a secret technique to drive this boat of Morselum, to finally stimulate it to open its doors automatically. Refining true treasures. Luo Feng felt a jolt. To refine a true treasure, one must first have a deep understanding of the civilization it originated from, dear Bug Master said. Random great beings would not be able to fathom the treasures left behind by a particular civilization, but for those great beings skilled in refining true treasures, upon thorough and meticulous studying of the true treasures, they will be able to reveal the mysteries of these treasures. As for this boat of Morselum, there is another piece of information. You should have heard this before. A single boat of Morselum can take in 36 great beings to enter that tomb. 36 great beings. Luo Feng only knew that the boat of Morselum could bring great beings into the tomb. Only one chance to control and drive the boat of Morselum, dear Bug Master said. Once inside the tomb, the boat of Morselum will leave and no longer be controlled. So, even if you manage to get hold of the boat of Morselum, you must consider carefully whether you truly want to enter the tomb. Once you enter the tomb, you will lose the boat of Morselum. The boat of Morselum was slowly emerging from the black swamp. Its speed might have been slow, but there was sustained, constant movement. Very quickly, it drew in a palace-type true treasure, which was an ancestral god school's group of power from the first reincarnation era. Generation after generation of reincarnation era. Regardless of which reincarnation era, there would always be the presence of the ancestral god school. When in the primal universe, the ancestral god school was generally very powerful. However, the moment the primal universe was destroyed to enter a new reincarnation era, these great beings of the ancestral god school, who were forced to live in their miniature universes, no longer had the protection of the universe origin. Their powers would be weakened, and their degree of unity would be greatly reduced, thus appearing to be detached from one another. A wild voice sounded. Ha ha! Shadow Dust Master from the Divine Eye Clan, Sorcerer Sprite Master. Deer Bug Master from Purple Moon Holy Land. Liu Ju Master of the First Ancestral God School. The human race's Milky Way Horde Leader. This is the boat of Morselum. A pale white light that just arrived immediately swept past the stream of light and charged toward the boat of Morselum. Luo Feng, Deer Bug Master, Shadow Dust Master, and the others were mocked amidst laughter as they looked on. They could see the pale white light landing on the boat of Morselum, searching for a spot that was not tainted by the black swamp, then trying its best to brand the boat with its life imprints. Apparently, nothing was successful. Skeleton Clan, you are just foolish. Cold laughter sounded throughout the domain and resonated in that part of space. We are all watching from afar, no one trying to make the boat recognize a master. Isn't it obvious that a master cannot be recognized? You're still trying to court your death by trying to make it recognize a master. What a joke. Divine Eye Clan, you are just idiotic, said a shrill voice that suggested an untamed character sounded. The others are not saying anything, so what nonsense are you speaking? Of course, I am aware that the boat of Morselum cannot recognize a master, but still, I have to try. Who knows? This boat of Morselum might be different from the others. And who knows? You Divine Eye Clan might already have some who tried to make the boat recognize a master before me. He was right. The Divine Eye Clan had been the first to arrive. They had, indeed, studied the emerging boat of Morselum carefully and attempted to get it to recognize a master. However, the Divine Eye Clan was from the first reincarnation era. Regarding information on the boat of Morselum, they were lacking in quantity as compared to the two Holy Land universes. Foolish Skeleton Clan, stop finding excuses, the cold voice continued. Stop being so full of yourself, Divine Eye Clan, the shrill voice snorted. The other groups of powers present did not make a single utterance. Skeleton Clan and Divine Eye Clan were both pinnacle clans from the first reincarnation era. Although the Skeleton Clan might have been slightly weaker than the Divine Eye Clan, it was still the latter's archenemy. The talents of both clans cursed one another. For close to 3 reincarnation eras, ceaseless fights had been going on between the two clans. Being able to maintain such strong powers while under the suppression of the Divine Eye Clan, one could imagine the power of Skeleton Clan. Time passed. Another half a month passed, and no other groups of powers came. Now, there were 5 groups. Namely, Divine Eye Clan, Skeleton Clan, the First Ancestral God School, Purple Moon Holy Ground, and the humans. Luo Feng knew he was alone, so what about the other groups? Everyone was within their own palace true treasures. How many great beings were in those palace true treasures? No one else knew. Perhaps the Skeleton Clan had a few of those palace true treasures, with only one person inside. Perhaps there were 2 great beings of the Divine Eye Clan inside, or maybe there were more than 2. Before a battle took place, it was hard to say. The boat of Morselum had finally completed emerging, the base of the entire vessel had left the black swamp, and was vaguely seen suspended in the air. At the same time, the cabin doors were starting to vibrate. The cabin doors are about to open. Milky Way, let's go, Deer Bug Master transmitted his command to Luo Feng right away. Luo Feng's Crimson Tower followed close behind Deer Bug Master's pyramid, as they immediately flew toward the towering boat of Morselum, which was quite a distance away. Hurry! Keep a close eye on Deer Bug Master. He has the most information. Keep up. The other groups of powers saw Deer Bug Master and Luo Feng dashing over. Without a second thought, they immediately went ablaze with their godly power to propel their palace true treasures to the ultimate forms. Then, with speeds accelerated to 100 times light speed, they transformed into streaks of light and took off in the direction of the boat of Morselum. All 5 entities, Luo Feng, Deer Bug Master, Divine Eye Clan, Skeleton Clan, and Ancestral God School transformed into 5 streams of light and flew across the void space toward the boat of Morselum. Floating across the sky above the black morass, the ancient boat was slowly starting to vibrate and tremble. Then a door appeared by the side of one of its outer walls. The door rose slowly. The passageway behind it got larger. Over there. The cabin doors of the boat of Morselum have opened. Hurry up, get in. With a slight adjustment to their flight route, 5 streams of light charged in the distance into a straight line toward that passageway behind the rising door. Dear Bugmaster, your power is the strongest, and also, you are the most familiar with the boat of Morselum. I think it is best you be the last to enter. Crazy chortles sounded as streams of hazy, golden shadows swept toward dear Bugmaster in an unrestrained manner, and in mid-air, countless golden shadows were gathering and converging. Then, almost immediately, a large yet primitive machete was formed. A voice belonging to First Ancestral God School sounded loud and clear. Dear Bugmaster, you already have a supreme true treasure. Why are you still vying for one with us? Instantly, numerous butterflies appeared in the void space. Butterflies of various colors flew all over the place and all over one another. Then they charged toward dear Bugmaster in a frenzy. Dear Bug. Coincidentally, the 2 archenemies, the Skeleton Clan and the Divine Eye Clan, also started to attack dear Bugmaster. On the contrary, no one laid a finger on Luo Feng. Obviously, dear Bugmaster was the greatest threat to them, as he was the most powerful one amongst them all, and he had the greatest understanding of the boat of Morselum. If they did not act in concert to hinder him, the boat of Morselum landing in the hands of dear Bugmaster was almost a given. Of every universe master present, not one of them was a fool. They would naturally know what to do. A gigantic void space machete. Countless drunken butterflies, a white whirlwind. Under such a concerted attack, the golden pagoda that was originally flying at high speed instantly disappeared. In mid-air, a beast appeared. Covered all over with black scales. It had a large body, which looked as though every inch of it was a weapon. On every joint of it several hundred pairs of sharp claws, had a sharp barb, and its tail resembled a scorpion's tail. Its tail was divided further into close to 1,000 nodes, and on around every node on its tail, there was a strange cyan color. The moment the beast appeared, Luo Feng's heart lurched. The only part of the entire beast that could be considered normal was its head, which resembled a deer-like beast. Dear Bug. Luo Feng mumbled. Dear Bugmaster was able to transform himself into a formidable, frightening beast with the help of his supreme true treasure. As he had renamed himself, Dear Bugmaster, after getting this supreme true treasure, this beast was called Dear Bug. Dear Bug pranced about in the void space, with that gentle-looking head letting out roars loud enough to cause the void space to tremble. The void space trembled and revealed visible ripples that spread out in all directions. That gigantic void space machete, countless drunken butterflies, a white whirlwind, were destroyed and shattered apart to finally be annihilated by these loud roars. Milky Way, follow me. Dear Bug flew quickly, but simultaneously transmitted his message to Luo Feng via his godly power. Sure. Luo Feng was secretly breathless, but he did not reduce his speed the slightest bit. Dear Bug has gone nuts. The moment he arrived, he started using his supreme true treasure. Stop him. Stop him. This boat of Morselum, it must be ours. Make him reduce his speed. Milky Way Horde leader, why aren't you helping to stop dear Bugmaster? If he gets in there first, we will have no chance at seizing the treasure. Milky Way Horde leader, we will stop dear Bug first. 2 voice transmissions reached Luo Feng, both asking him to help in their attempts to stop dear Bug. Humph. Luo Feng, on the contrary, ignored their pleas. You will regret this in a while. You all are really full of crap. Luo Feng transmitted his reply. Regret, indeed. Attack me all you want, if you have the guts. Humph. Humph. A few cold snorts sounded, then Divine Eye Clan, the First Ancestral God School, and the Skeletal Clan no longer paid heed to Luo Feng. At this point in time, they would not be distracted into dealing with him. Their biggest enemy was dear Bugmaster. The 3 were seen launching heavy, successive blows across the domain, crazily laying siege to dear Bugmaster. It was a common knowledge that those who dared roam the internal domain were usually only 5th-tier universe masters, and a handful of fourth-tier universe masters, who were extremely strong in their ability for survival, were sometimes seen roaming the internal domain. At that moment, the other parties were attacking Dear Bug from all directions with concerted efforts. The beast, Dear Bug, galloped about the void space, letting out bouts of roars with sound waves of an incomparably powerful impact. Yet the Divine Eye clan, the first ancestral god school, and the Skeletal clan were also attacking forcefully. Thus, Dear Bug Master's speed was apparently affected and got much slower. The moment Dear Bug Master's speed was reduced, the stream of crimson light following closely behind and instantly bypassed him. It was Luo Feng. Don't worry about Milky Way. He has no inkling about the internal layout of the boat of Morselum. We just have to stop Dear Bug Master, then everything will be fine. Dear Bug Master did not ask Luo Feng for help at all. Instead, he broke through the attacks, one after another, as he charged his way toward the entrance to the door. The distance was still very far, so why were Luo Feng and company all moving so fast? A stream of crimson light dashed through the entrance in an instant. Following closely were Dear Bug Master, who was moving under the influence of restrictions, and the Divine Eye clan, the Skeleton clan, and the First Ancestral God School, who all seemed to dash through the gate entrance at the same time. This place is. Inside the boat of Morselum, the environment seemed safe. One after another, the great beings exited their pinnacle palace true treasures, which was nothing impressive, as anyone who was able to make it through Flame Ice region would at least possess a pinnacle palace true treasure. This, the first to dash in, was Luo Feng, and he was looking all around the place. He had charged his way down the passageway after passing the gate, then very quickly arrived at an immeasurably large public square. Or was it a great hall? Whichever it was easily 100 million kilometers in diameter, and it was entirely empty. The incomparably smooth surface was all that one could see at first glance, and it was also all that one could see thereafter. As for the border of the public square, there were numerous passageways, all leading in different directions. This confused Luo Feng, as he was at a loss for which direction to choose. If he made a wrong choice, much time would be wasted, and wasted time, no matter how short, would mean losing the core control to another great being. Then he would not be able to get it to recognize its master. Dear Bug Master suddenly transmitted a message. Milky Way, follow me. Dear Bug Master flew far into the distance right away. Luo Feng's eyes lit up, and he wasted no time in following closely, charging after Dear Bug Master. From the Divine Eye clan, only 2 universe masters appeared, Shadow Dust Master and Sorcerer Sprite Master. From the First Ancestral God School, only one turned up, Liu Ju Master. From the Skeleton clan, there was also only one, Jittery Sea Master. Upon seeing Dear Bug Master and Luo Feng making their moves, the 4 universe masters gave chase almost at the same time, as though they were trained to make conditioned responses. Keep your eyes on Dear Bug. He knows which way to go. Stick to Dear Bug. Don't let Milky Way take advantage of the situation. Within an instant, all 4 universe masters, who were giving chase from behind, executed attacks that ranged from soul attacks to long-range attack types, or even domain attacks. At that point, the 4 from behind and the 2 in front were exchanging blows at lightning speed. Yet all of them were still advancing forward at high speed. Dear Bug must be using me to absorb some of the impact from the others, Luo Feng thought as he continued chasing after Dear Bug ahead of him. But compared to that group consisting of the Divine Eye clan, the Skeleton clan, and the First Ancestral God School, between those 3 groups of powers and me, I am the weakest. Even if I manage to stall Dear Bug Master, when we eventually have to fight for the treasure, how am I going to win those 3 all by myself? If I were to follow Dear Bug, then Dear Bug would be attracting most of the attention from our opponents. Perhaps I would be able to gain from his misfortune. Luo Feng continued giving chase from behind. Every single one of them had an agenda of their own. Along the internal passageway of the boat of Morselum, 6 figures were advancing at high speed. Dear Bug Master was indeed a common target for everyone, where his speed also got noticeably slower to become alongside Luo Feng. Dear Bug looked at Luo Feng and said, Milky Way, I think you will gain a great advantage if I am blocked. I am also being attacked now. Luo Feng was like a beast god, fast and furious, and his right claw attacked with occasional roars. Behind him, 4 great beings were in hot pursuit, but they were only hindering him from a distance, and they did not attack at full force. So why should Luo Feng be bothered? Right there. Dear Bug Master suddenly charged forward. A loud bang sounded. One of the horns on his head rammed into one side of the walls of that revolving corridor. Rumbling sounded. The patterns on the corridor walls suddenly caved in, and soon after, there was a loud crash. A gigantic gate suddenly fell from the top. With a loud rumble, the gate fell. The 4 figures charged out in succession as they saw that gigantic gate, and all of them flared up instantly. Loathsome. I have already told you that Dear Bug is the most dangerous one. Jittery Sea Master, you are an idiot. Why did you get distracted and attack Milky Way instead? That Milky Way knows nothing at all. The crucial secrets, would Dear Bug tell him? Blocking Dear Bug, even if we let Milky Way wander about in there, he will not be able to find anything in there. Trash from the Divine Eye clan, you only dare to say all these after everything has happened. Previously, when I was attacking Luo Feng, why didn't you say anything? All right. Let's hurry and find another passageway. This is the boat of Morselum. There are many passageways within the boat that lead to other places. We don't have this one passageway alone. Let's hurry up. If we delay further, we never know what kind of method Dear Bug will use to shut the passageways. The female member of Divine Eye clan, Sorcerer Sprite Master, grudgingly swung her feet hard at the gate. The gate did not move, but Sorcerer Sprite Master was forced to retreat 3 steps. Let's go. Sorcerer Sprite Master turned to leave, bringing Shadow Dust Master with her, and speedily left to search for another passageway. Dear Bug Master and Luo Feng flew, one after the other. Dear Bug Master is indeed very impressive, Luo Feng said. You have my respect. I have studied 2 boats of Morselum so far, so why should you find it strange that I know more about it? Dear Bug Master laughed and took a look at Luo Feng. At that moment, he had transformed back into his original appearance, a balding man. In a forthright manner, he said, Milky Way, previously, when I roped you in, it was firstly to ensure that I have one less enemy. Besides, you are the only one who is willing to be roped in to be at my side. Secondly, it is to ensure that the other side has one more opponent. But now, you are kind of useless to me. Luo Feng was taken aback. In fact, when the gate in that tunnel was lowered earlier on, he had started to practice due vigilance. Since there were no enemies from the outside, the possibility of Dear Bug Master turning on him was high. And his opponent's power obviously surpassed his. Rest assured, I have roamed Universe Ocean so freely for a long time, and I am definitely not like those lunatics from the first reincarnation era, Dear Bug Master said in a carefree manner. The boat of Morselum is very valuable, even though it is still lacking compared to a palace supreme true treasure. It is superior to any other pinnacle palace true treasure. And with it, you can enter the tomb. It is very valuable. Even more valuable than a strange object, or extremely close to that of a supreme true treasure. They can go crazy, but I am not about to lose my sanity. Because my life is so long, the most exciting part of it will be to go on adventures. And the most important process of an adventure. To obtain treasures. It is good enough if you have failed despite putting in your best. Failure means nothing at all. Dear Bug Master was very relaxed. At the same time, he transformed into light and advanced down the meandering passage ahead of them. Luo Feng ignored him. Did failure really mean nothing? Was he not bothered at all? If his race could live on for eternity, it meant that he would live on for eternity. If that was possible, then he, too, could afford to be so free and nonchalant. I have made a good guess, said Dear Bug Master. It is the core room right ahead. The core control should be in there. Dear Bug Master took one look at Luo Feng, then said via voice transmission, let's see who is capable enough, you or me, to be able to obtain that core control. To receive the entire inheritance, or die. All right. Luo Feng said no more. He transformed into a beam of light as he continued flying at high speed. Then, after taking a bend, he stopped before a huge, exquisite door. The colors on the door were an intertwining mix of gold and cyan. Its entirety annotated royalty. Thus, countless living souls would have considered it to be in a superior position far removed from the masses. They were full of apprehension and did not dare enter. Luo Feng and Dear Bug Master's willpower were extremely determined, as they pushed the door open almost at the same time. The big door opened. Control room. Upon pushing open the door, they set foot inside a towering and spacious hall that was very beautiful. Within the hall, there were various decorative items on display. There were also some ornaments hung on the walls. The moment Luo Feng entered, he did not hesitate to release a large amount of godly power from his body. He charged about crazily in a random and haphazard manner, and scoured all corners of the vast hall, with his eyes flashing traces of insanity. It was as though he was thinking, I Luo Feng may not recognize, which is the core control, but it is safe within the boat of Morselum, and there are no traces of destruction from the external environment. So I could try to brand the treasures I found with my life imprints, and get everything instantly verified once. I don't even need to know which the core control is, because I will try to get all of the items here to recognize their master. Luo Feng looked towards Dear Bug Master, who was a short distance away. The moment Dear Bug Master entered the hall, he went around looking for the core control. When he saw how Luo Feng suddenly scattered his godly power without inhibitions, he could not help exclaiming, Milky Way Horde Leader, what are you doing scattering your godly power in such an unrestrained manner? What do you think I am doing? Luo Feng laughed and asked. I am not as experienced as you, Dear Bug Master, so I can only use such a silly method. This is boat of Morselum we are talking about. Do you think branding it with life imprints is the way to get it to recognize its master? You think it is so simple? Dear Bug Master teased and laughed. Ha ha. I did not tell you before. To get it to recognize its master, its core control is the real method. Luo Feng's face changed slightly. Yes, that's it. The way of getting supreme true treasures to recognize their masters was complicated, which meant that getting the core control of boat of Morselum to recognize its master would also be quite complicated. Do you know why I rallied you? Dear Bug Master teased. Other than the two reasons I mentioned previously, the third one would be, those guys from the first reincarnation era have seen more and were more experienced. Maybe among them, there will be someone who knows the way to get the core control to recognize its master. They are my greatest enemies. Come on, if you have the capability to find the way to get the core control to recognize its master, I will not interfere at all. While he spoke, Dear Bug Master was, on the other hand, probing around as quickly as he could. Indeed, you have a hidden hand, Luo Feng whispered to himself. Everything was as he had expected. Since it is so difficult to find, then. Luo Feng made a swift decision. The majority of his attention was placed on Dear Bug Master, carefully observing his various reactions, like his expressions, to help Luo Feng decide on his target. Dear Bug Master's expression was one of jest as he searched around for that core control in a leisure manner. Very soon, everything within that control room of the vast hall was searched. This caused Dear Bug Master's expression to change slightly. Again, he searched through every object in that entire hall, more meticulously this time, and his expression changed drastically. How is this possible, he said. How can there be nothing at all? The core control, how can it not be in the control room? No way. Dear Bug Master glowered with rage. It seemed as though the various plans that he had made had all fallen through, and he found it unbearable. After all, the worth of the boat of Morselum was close to that of a supreme true treasure. Solely the fact that it was indestructible had made it second only to a palace supreme true treasure. Plus, it could enter the tomb. Even Dear Bug Master only had one treasure that was more superior than the boat of Morselum after countless years, his Dear Bug godly armor. Seeing how close he was to seizing the boat of Morselum, only to see it slip through his fingers. How can he take it lying down? Dear Bug Master, I'm afraid you may have miscalculated. Luo Feng laughed, then said gently, this core control may not be in the control room. What do you know? Dear Bug Master grunted coldly. The control room is where the master of the boat of Morselum resides. That great ancient civilization was strict with respect to its hierarchical system, with the control room being where its master resided. The master was of incomparable nobility, and no other great beings would dare intrude. From the door you saw earlier to the core control, both have always been placed here at the control room. This is the usual practice. Usual practice. How many boats of Morselum have you encountered so far? Luo Feng shook his head and laughed. Suddenly, Luo Feng's expression changed slightly, and he turned to look behind him at the doorway that was a distance away from him. Dear Bug Master also turned around to look. 4 streaks of light charged through the door almost simultaneously. Humph. Dear Bug Master's expression changed. Ha ha ha, dear Bug Master, are you trying to stop us? Jittery Sea Master of Skeleton Clan laughed, and his laughter was filled with mockery. But this is a gigantic vessel, after all. There are many ways to get about, and also, more than one route leading to the control room. And by the looks of it, dear Bug Master has yet to obtain the core control, Sorcerer Sprite Master said. Hurry up and look for it, Shadow Dust Master said. Liu Ju Master did not make a single utterance. He moved quickly and started to search for the core control. Humph, Sorcerer Sprite Master grunted, and with a sudden wave of his arm, an immeasurable amount of golden blood splashed out in mid-air, and divided into countless golden drops, before falling over every single item in the hall. Divine Eye Clan, indeed worthy of the Divine Eye Clan, to be aware of such a verification method. Dear Bug Master snorted. You think only you who are from the Holy Land universe would understand. Sorcerer Sprite Master laughed coldly. Then, with a change of expression, he asked, how come there isn't anything here? Divine Eye Clan was known to be the top power of the 3rd reincarnation era. When compared to the 2 Holy Land universes, they were an extremely close match. On the level of universe masters, the Divine Eye Clan was weaker. But on the level of universe supreme masters, the Divine Eye Clan was, on the contrary, more powerful than the 2 Holy Land universes. For close to 3 reincarnation eras, the amount of information that Divine Eye Clan has gathered was quite plentiful. Therefore, the clan was very well informed. This scattering of blood droplets was a way of verifying the core control. Once verified, the next step would be to get the core control to recognize its master, which was more complicated. Not here. There is no core control. Shadow Dust Master looked shocked. How is that possible? Could it be that dear Bug Master has already seized it? Jittery Sea Master of Skeleton Clan said with eyes that were burning with wild flames. If I had it, would I still be standing here like a fool? Dear Bug Master jeered. Strange. How can there be no core control? There were 6 great beings scattered around in that spacious hall, and at that moment, all were in a state of utter confusion. An intangible force suddenly befell them. Dear Bug Master, Luo Feng, Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Jittery Sea Master, and Liu Ju Master all turned to look forward at the hall above the one containing the control room. There was an ancient throne, and at that moment, the intangible force was gathered on that throne to gradually give rise to a vague figure. Finally, the figure came into clear view. The figure looked no different from any ordinary human form man. 2 eyes, 1 nose, and 1 mouth. 2 arms, 2 legs, black eyes, and yellow skin. Its hair was completely cyan. Just like a human. He resembles an ordinary clansman from Purple Moon Holy Land, too. Not a trace of oppression. Luo Feng and company all looked at that vague figure in shock. The cyan-haired human man seated high up on the throne was wearing simple armor that had streaks of floral patterns. At first glance, the armor was like an endless, rolling river with surging waves. He looked down with eyes staring coldly, then he introduced himself. My name is Duan Dong River Wu. This sent shudders coursing through Luo Feng and the other 5 great beings. Shadow Dust Master looked very solemn. Wu? Wu is an extremely respectable title in that ancient civilization. If a name carries a Wu character after it, that person must be someone extraordinary. Dear Bug Master jested, as he threw a look at Shadow Dust Master. You do know some stuff, but with that little bit of knowledge, I think it is better you keep your peace. If great beings from that ancient civilization come to know of it, I think you will become the joke of the town. Humph. Shadow Dust Master gave Dear Bug Master a cold look. The cyan-haired human man high on his throne did not seem to be aware of the situation below as he continued to say with indifference, descendants from endless reincarnation eras later, when you all finally meet me, I would have been annihilated for an unknown number of reincarnation eras. Previously, when I embarked on this final adventure with my general, I already knew that chances of survival were slim. Indeed. This path was the most difficult one. Even for the greatest ship, or the bravest and strongest great beings, whatever or whoever is treading upon it would be bound to fail. Now that I know I am expected to fail, I do not wish to put an end to my inheritance. I, Duan Dong River Wu, am the 192nd master of Duan Dong River. Am the sole heir. Generations of ancestors, dying one after another in battles. When it was my turn, the inheritances had accumulated for so long that I lost count. If I die, the inheritance will be cut off with me. I have let the generations of ancestors down. I have remodeled this boat of Morselum. It is different from the others. Within it, there are more dangerous lands, and lands of inheritances. I can die, he continued. But generations of inheritances of Duan Dong River cannot die off. If you all are feeling afraid now, you may leave. Otherwise, the moment you set foot upon this path, the dangers in your way will only intensify. Especially toward the end, when you come into contact with the one true inheritance from my Duan Dong River. Only the one receiving the inheritance may survive, or if none of you were able to receive the inheritance, then all of you shall be annihilated. The earlier you leave, the safer you are. The later you leave, especially when you come into contact with just a mere bit of inheritance, non-descendants from the generations of Duan Dong River, who try to covet after our line of inheritance must die. Quick! Make your choice, descendants. The voice dispersed, and the figure on the throne vanished. At one point in time, there was an oppressive energy over the entire hall. All 6 pairs of eyes contained craziness, or excitement, or worry. There was a wide array of emotions. Inheritance. The true inheritance. Why were the 7 true masters of Divine I Clan so powerful? Because the Divine I Clan once found a complete series of inheritance among monuments, allowing the 7 great true masters to be able to unleash an unbelievably strong power the moment they joined forces. That was why, among the universe ocean, the most precious inheritance would be a complete series where cultivation could start from a low to a high level. But this inheritance, it was an inheritance from a pulse on Duan Dong River. From the sound of it, this pulse on the Duan Dong River was probably one that ran rampant, one from the great ancient civilization that was extremely strong and dominating. Every pulse only had one heir, with a name that contained the Wu character, to remodel an entire boat of Morselum, given his speaking tone and manner, and even to have followed his general out on a venture. This so-called general must have been a general from the universe boat. His status had to be extremely high. Obviously, this inheritance from the pulse on the Duan Dong River was very precious. Even if this Duan Dong River wanted to die alone, the inheritance must be left behind. An endless and long-standing ancient inheritance. Earlier generations were probably much stronger than the current generation of Duan Dong River, which meant that this inheritance should not be judged based on the capability of Duan Dong River Wu. There was probably something more profound about it. The current generation of Duan Dong River had yet to reach that level of cultivation. Regardless, the conclusion boiled down to one point: the inheritance of that pulse on Duan Dong River was a most precious inheritance. However, the moment one was to tread upon this path, the result might be frightening. Once one touched an inch of that inheritance. This video will end here.